comfortable having to move around quite a bit in the pocket. Forces the throw here, steps up, he's out of rhythm. The ball could have still been caught. It would have been tough by Iglesias. But credit Texas up front for disrupting the rhythm for Sam Bradford here in these last few possessions.
Now, offensive coordinator Greg Davis will attempt to eat up as many ticks of that clock as he can. He knows how dangerous the Sooners can be with the ball. Ogbonnaya, who has been a huge factor here in the second half. And you can't say enough, Kirk. You've talked about Will Muschamp, but some of the other guys over there, Dwayne Aquina, and also upstairs, Oscar Giles with the defensive ends. The entire defensive coaching staff against Bob Stoops in Oklahoma have done a magnificent job for the Longhorns here today. They got into a big shootout. Obviously, the offensive coach, you talked about Major Applewhite, and now Greg Davis has called a spectacular game.
I don't think enough can be said about what Texas was able to do today, Brent, because for the whole first half of this season, even though they've moved up in the rankings, nobody really knew how good Texas was until today. Today was their chance to showcase their ability, their coaching staff, with Colt McCoy as their leader, on a big stage against the #1 team in the country, and they answered the challenge. And I think demonstrated out. The thing that I love about this Texas team is you can sense the chemistry and the leadership is outstanding. And sometimes that's the magic ingredient to get to a championship season.
Second down and 11. Ogbonnaya again.
Oklahoma out of timeouts, so they should
can't stop it.
If they stop, they're going to get the ball back, but 10 points. It's not enough time, even for Sam Bradford.
Mack has had his troubles through the years with Stoops. There's no question about that. And every place you went and every radio talk show you're on, you were asked, does Stoops have Mack Brown's number? I mean, they asked me that on SportsCenter yesterday, and well, I would say he didn't have his number today.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because early in this rivalry, Bob Stoops got a lot of credit for dominating Texas and Mack Brown, and it became a mindset game. Vince Young had the breakthrough moment a few years ago, but now think about this. Vince Young's not here anymore. Texas has won 3 of the last 4 against OU. If you're a senior on this year's team, you've beaten OU 3 of the last 4 years. So it's not just Vince Young. This is about Mack Brown in Texas.
Well, you know, we've talked about these two quarterbacks, and I don't think Sam Bradford's eliminated should Oklahoma lose it. Talking about the Heisman now, but of course next week, Chase Daniel. If Missouri handles Oklahoma State tonight, there's a big one set up in Austin with the Texas Longhorns, and who knows where the rankings are going to shake out. There's still a lot of action, a couple huge games left to unfold. It's not impossible, folks. I'm not going to hype this anymore, but it's not impossible. It'll be 1 versus 2, depending on what happens. Remember now, Oklahoma is the 3rd #1 team we've had this year, right? Georgia, USC, and Oklahoma. They could be the 3rd #1 to lose, okay? So that opens up the #1 spot. And you've got Alabama's idle, so you don't know how the voters will handle them. You got LSU with that big one. You got Missouri, and you've got Texas. You're going to have to shake all this out. First things first, of course, Ogbonnaya keeps the clock moving. Remember now, Kirk told you, Oklahoma without a timeout.
You got to believe if LSU is able to go to Gainesville and win, most people are going to put them at #1. If they're to lose that football game, then it comes down to what Texas has done tonight. If Missouri's able to beat Oklahoma State, and as you said, an Alabama team that's idle, and the last time they played, they weren't that impressive against Kentucky. So there are a lot of factors that go into play here.
And let's not forget that old fella, Joe Pye.
We showed that graphic. Penn State's
right there. They're working.
Outside, they are. We'll see them maybe in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. They got a big one in Columbus, don't they, with Ohio State coming. I just hope that all of you out there watching and listen, I hope you've enjoyed this one as much as we have being here. This has really been a lot of fun. And it's just a great shootout. Texas did a great job, Kirk, in coming back. Great coaching job over there.
I know you and I both like to give our condolences to Ryan Reynolds, who's had 2 knee surgeries in the last couple years, finally healthy, back, had a chance in the offseason to, instead of rehabbing his knees, had a chance to get faster and to get stronger, was having a great year, and then today he's got a knee brace on that right leg, and the OU Sooners they missed him today, but they'll miss him down the stretch.
You know, I go back to one other thing, Kirk. Fourth down here, Horns are going to punt. Of course, if OU could bust one, they still have a chance for an onside kick here. And it is picked up by Broyles on a hop, and he's out of bounds. Out of bounds at about the 18-yard line, and coming up at 3:30 Eastern now. ESPN College Football on ABC. Arizona State, they of course take on USC. Purdue, we mentioned Ohio State. They'll be in Columbus today. Notre Dame, North Carolina. Those are your games at 3:30. I guess we're just about past that, aren't we? Right now,
I'll give you a prediction. 2 blowouts, and North Carolina Notre Dame becomes a national game maybe this afternoon.
It could be a biggie now for both those schools.
Yeah.
Kirk, I was into. Here comes Bradford. Now let's stick with the young man here, rolling hard to the left, slashing on the short hop on that throw downfield. I couldn't believe I read, and I think it was Associated Press this week, said that for the first time in the history of Notre Dame, they're 4-1 and unranked. Can that be? I guess so.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. I didn't realize in the history of Notre Dame, but it is interesting. You got to think if they go to Chapel Hill and win and move to 5-1, obviously they'll be up in the top 25 next week. That would probably be, if they're able to win, that would be their biggest win that they've had so far this year.
Snaps it off into space. A prevent defense, though, and they let him get close to midfield with. That, of course, stops the clock at a first down in the college game. The other thing I want to say about Colt McCoy, Kirk, you were making your move, and I hope you all had a chance to hear the tribute that he made to a cousin who was killed in Iraq. And, you know, he dedicated this season to that young man who gave his life. And it's just, it was a wonderful, wonderful story about this young man.
Everybody has a story, you know, out there. But Colt McCoy is one of the good guys.
He really is.
Guys. You sit down with Colt McCoy, and I have 4 young boys. You just hope that your boys will grow up like Colt McCoy. What a class act.
Fumble. Oklahoma's got the loose ball right about the.
And should also touch on one last thing here. Will Muschamp. So much made out of his defense. They brought him in from Auburn for these types of games. How would he do? He's had 2 freshman safeties that played the entire game. 3 new starters in the secondary. Could they answer the call against this Oklahoma offense and Sam Bradford? And I know they gave up 35 points, but you know what? They played aggressively. They played with a lot of spirit. Nice job by Will Muschamp.
They were tough down the stretch. Tough when they had to be. They got the prevent back there in the end zone. Out of bounds. And the Red River rivalry comes up. Texas and Colt McCoy. 45-35. There's the 2 great quarterbacks. Lisa's right there. Colt's got a few words with Sam Bradford. Let's go to Lisa.
Thanks, Brett. Colt, you just had a moment there with Sam Bradford. What was he saying to you?
Sam and I are great friends. He played a great game. He led his team as best he could, and we came out on top. I thank God for giving me this opportunity. What an awesome opportunity to play. These 2 teams are great.
It seemed like every time you guys went down, you had an answer for them. What were you saying to your guys over there in that whole second half?
Just keep your head up. You know, believe. 1 play at a time. You play 1 play at a time, I promise you we'll do good things. And we did. We executed. We had a hard time running the ball early. We passed the ball really well tonight. And we came out on top.
Thanks a lot, Colt. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Lisa, and our Chevrolet players of this game are these 2 fine quarterbacks. And in recognition of their efforts, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. A 10-point Texas win. And coming up next, regional coverage of ESPN College Football on ABC. Arizona State at USC. Purdue at Ohio State. Notre Dame at North Carolina. So big games still to come here today. And in Dallas, the Longhorns are celebrating. For Lisa Salters and Kirk Herbstreit, I'm Brent Musburger. Thanks so much for watching ESPN on ABC.
This has been a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.